Okay, I'm gonna start recording this meeting. Okay, Chris, can you please take our attendance call?
I would love to take our attendance call. President, are you present here?
I am.
All right, glad to hear. Vice President, are you still in here?
Yes.
That's a nice yes. I'm going to count that. And also, Secretary, myself, I am here. I'm present. Treasurer, are you here?
Affirmative.
All right, affirmative. And the new Prime Minister for Voice Representative, are you in here?
Yes, Cinder Hill is here.
Thank you. For those at home that are witnessing this, Center Hill has a voice representative due to voice not able to speak. Kingdom Monarch, are you in here still?
Yes, I am still here.
All right, glad to hear. And the liaison, are you still here?
I am here.
All right, that's the attendance. I yield the floor back to the Prez.
I'm here
Perfect.
too.
Oh yeah, that's right. We have a guest attendance. I forgot about the list.
Hey. Wow. Okay. Not even out of office yet.
Hurt.
Kingdom Prime Minister, I am sorry. Please.
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
And the guests. Maybe go down the list again. Doesn't have to be in any order.
Athena Montanidis is here.
All righty. Thank you. Next, please.
Milan or Brian Olette, IRS liaison.
Thank you, Brian. Next, please.
Simone Jones is still here.
Thank you, Simone. Next person, please.
Benjamin Smith is here.
Thank you, Benjamin Smith. Next person, please.
Frankie.
Frankie.
You
Don't
sound
be
so
shy,
excited.
but thank you very much. I think Frankie was the last one last time. Are you still the last one? Let's take a look at this list. I don't see anyone else here. So 1, 2, 3. Yield the floor back to the Prez.
Thank you very much. Starting with item -1, the Wells Fargo account transfer. That has been finished. Okay. And then we've already started recording the meeting. So agenda item 1 is reading of the last, or item 0, I should say, is reading of the minutes from the last meeting, which I believe we will want to do, yes? Perfect.
Seconded.
Cool. Once I find where that is, meetings for Westmarch January. Okay. There we go. So in the meeting that was held January 15th, we elected officer positions. Yay! We then had a Feast of Gods final document review. Unfortunately, they were not available. And so it was held that we would give until the February 12th for the autocrat, Alan, to provide those documents. I believe those documents were provided earlier this month, like earlier this week.
2 days ago.
Okay, well, we'll get to that in a second. We then covered directors and officers insurance. And from that, we decided to reach out to Westmarch to get feedback ahead of a March Alding about what we want to do with directors and officers insurance. Item number 4 was then should we have an emergency management plan? We decided that it wasn't necessary. However, Milan decided that they really wanted to work on it and would continue to work on it and update us in February. We then had an incident form, item number 5, and we have a PDF form and digital submission forms. There was a problem with the JOT form and being able to potentially edit it or modify them after they've been submitted. And so it was tabled until February to make sure that we could, get that item resolved. Then there was the previously tabled from December food safety requirements. Ultimately, we decided that it was not required and closed the item. We then had a Westmarch event audit form with records and reviews. And we decided to, so let's see, Westmarch Future Fund recommended to add oversight for maintenance and returning of Westmarch equipment, recommended adding to future Alding, and then table till February to re-review the updated form. We then discussed the 501c3 with an update where we appointed Brian to be our special liaison to the IRS. And we there would provide a follow-up again on the next month, which is February. We then had a few walk-on items, which is the 2025 budget, the 2024 taxes, and the items we needed there, and then we scheduled our follow-on meeting. That concludes the reading of the minutes from January. Does anybody have any questions before we return to the meeting at large?
1, 2, 3. Motion to move forward.
Perfect. Okay, we have now concluded item number 0, reading of the minutes from the last meeting. I have already taken the liberty of incorporating all the things that were tabled till February and added them to this agenda. The first one of those, tabled from the January agenda, was the FOG final documents. We needed to add the FOG inventory to the CA AmpGuard inventory list. An update to that, though, is that myself and Ginger, our liaison, completed an inventory list of everything that we currently have in our trailer, and that was delivered to the Regent. So they now have that. It just needs to be uploaded to the appropriate forms. We then noted previously that there was low turnout at the event that affected the overall event. And then finally, we had Alan needing a final accounting. Fortunately, it does not look like Alan is available, but if our Prime Minister or our CFO or our Treasurer could, talk to this, the items we're specifically looking for is in relation to the Kapora 773, which is a complete accounting of income and expenses with all receipts must be provided within 45 days of the end of the event.
It was
So-
provided outside of 45 days. All reimbursements have been made. We're looking at, well, we being me, I'm looking to see why the numbers in the FOG account don't match the accounting from FOG. And I have to do a little more. There's one receipt missing, but Alan did not request reimbursement for it. He just ate the cost because he doesn't want to go try and get a new copy of the receipt.
Okay.
It's also very possible that I did a transfer incorrectly as well. So I'm going to go back and look through the PayPal myself and see if it was something I did.
Yeah, Alan's part's done at this point. It's just reviewing and seeing what the discrepancy between numbers is.
Okay, so
I can even tell you the amount of discrepancy if you want.
sure.
It's $469.39.
In which direction, over or under?
39 over.
So there's more being charged than we have account for?
No, we received more than we have an accounting for. You're off by 2 cents even. This bucks.
I mean, if that's
39 cents?
Yes.
that's the good way to be in the wrong, I guess.
It hurts my soul.
It probably means that money might belong to the general checking, perhaps. Because we received tithes at the same time we received a lot of prepays. So it's very possible that I put something into the wrong account. I just had a hard time figuring out where, which is why I'm like, Royce, please help me.
There's also another thing which I pointed out in the last meeting, which was the number that Alan presented of attendees does not match the number of attendees that were submitted into the org. So it is possible that is leading to an error.
Got it.
There's also one of the things that's leading, and this number includes that I gave you, is that there is in the documents for FOG, it says there was a Venmo transfer of $150 that Alan kept as part of of his reimbursement for expenses that was not included in the amount of money in the FOG document. So that's why I was telling our KPM right before the meeting that I have a little more legwork, but conveniently my skill set lets me do it fairly easily.
Yes, and we appreciate that you have such skill set for this situation. So I'm not sure there's really an action here for the board of directors. The Kapora doesn't give us much power here, other than just basically saying that we have to stay within compliance of the state of California and the IRS for accounting procedures and processes. Does anybody have any like recommendations on what to do with this?
Um, I would say wait until Royce and Penn iron it out, and figure out what is missing
Hey,
or where it went.
it's not even that. It's where the overage comes from.
Yeah.
Um, I would say that somewhere we should include some kind of if this isn't done within 45 days, either wait till it's done to give their awards for autocrating or something like that, because there's no incentive to even do it. I mean, for me, it's a whole thing, but that's for normal people. It's,
Royce, may I get those numbers again for the record? I was trying to catch that.
469.39 over. We have 469.39 more than we should.
Okay. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Ethan, what is the number of attendees versus the number of sign-ins at the org?
I was believing something was like 143 versus like 160, 170. I'd have to relook. It was a minute. Just want to give me a second to pull those up. Oh, the orc is being slow, of course.
What? The orc is perfect.
For all the folks watching at home, please stand by as we continue to try to process this.
Yeah, so there were 144 people who signed who got credit in the org for that event. I'm trying to remember how many people Alan reported. I believe that was in the December meeting notes.
As somebody who worked at Gate, our goal was to hope to get to 150, and I can tell you at least Gate count never got to 150.
Total attendance was 149 on the fog sheets.
Okay, so that's been updated then since the December discussion. So there is a discrepancy of 5 there. So unfortunately, that would not probably account for $469
And
and
some of
79
that,
cents.
well, yeah, and some of that there was like 7 or 8 people that didn't pay.
And that would
7.
match. Okay, so it sounds like that number then did get updated since December because the December number was significantly different, whereas it sounds now we're within the expected amount we would have for volunteers.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so it sounds like our current thing is to table this until next month so Royce can finish the audit of the documentation.
Yeah, seconded.
Third.
Okay. I don't believe we have to have a vote on that. There is definitely like a problem here, right? Where, kind of what we were talking about with we have no power to kind of enforce that 45-day number. So I think what we ultimately end up doing here is passing it to the monarch and, raise this to their attention. So that way, if they need, they can take action.
Yeah, and it was just that we then are treading the waters of if we try to then enforce something, it's without it being in writing, either in our corpora or in some other way. How do we enforce that 45 days and figuring that out?
There is some language in the corpora about like basically everybody shall abide by the corpora. And one of the things is that 45 day. Like we could look into something like that. Trying to find the exact rating. I think it's the start of the corpora. Or maybe it's
I
on the
know,
waiver.
Balan. I know.
Yeah. Point is, I don't think that this is necessarily a board of directors item anymore. I believe we turn this back over to the monarchy as far as actions if they need to be taken, and the board of directors will continue to deal with the accounting just to make sure that all the numbers and monies add up. I believe that is our current action. Does anybody have anything else that they would like to discuss about this topic? No? Okay.
No motions.
Perfect. Then I will motion to move on to the next topic.
Seconded.
Perfect. Let us move on to the next topic. The next topic was directors and officers insurance. This is just a reminder uh, from the January meeting to where we ultimately decided to reach out to Westmarch to get feedback ahead of the March Alding. Unfortunately, we are too close to the March Alding to actually be able to get onto the March Alding unless we wanted to make it an emergency item. So at this point, I'm proposing that we push it to the April Alding. And if
I'll
anybody
second.
Yeah. Does anybody have any other things they'd like to discuss about this before we move along from this reminder?
We really should probably put some kind of poll out and explain what it is and why we need it.
Yeah, I think that's the purpose of the Alding is to go, here's what it is, here's what it would cost. Do you think we should continue pursuing this type thing?
I think a poll as opposed to the all thing would be helpful though, since it's kind of just getting a feel from the public as compared to pass or fail, because not everybody is exactly voting qualified.
So the simple answer that I would say is the poll should be the poll on the Alding, using the Alding mechanism. The reason for this is one, this is a politics thing, so we only need to get the feedback from the voting members, dues paid members. Non-dues paid members, this is why you pay dues, so you can do it. By utilizing the Alding, we can get more of a census as compared to an informal poll posted on Facebook or on a Discord or something like that. So we'll be able to better judge what the population wants.
I believe there's no further motion, Prez.
Hey. So it sounds like we have completed item 2. So we already had a motion to move along. Can I get a second for that item?
Second.
Wait, so what was the resolution, the decision to this item?
So the decision to this item was actually held back in January. Let me quickly pull up the original January.
I believe it was said pushing it off until the future all thing, but does it need to be decided now what that future all thing will say?
No. Specifically, where was the meeting notes? The meeting notes from the January Alding. Where was this? I'm just gonna copy and paste them into here real fast. So for directors and officers insurance, really, thank you for the center justify. You needed the talent, you were the one running it at the time, so you needed the number of participants over and under 18, how much liability, how much we needed. And then we needed to contact the relevant organization, the insurance company, and have it. So that was tabled until January. Then in January, the board of directors changed. So we needed the, allowed cost, the amount of coverage. We recommended we use Francis L. Dean, and then the contact information for Francis L. Dean was passed to Ginger Conrad as the new liaison. And they were also given the action to reach out to Westmarch to get feedback ahead of the March Alding.
Okay, cool. I was just making sure that there had been some update with updated decision of this meeting. Cool.
Yep. So that leads that to this meeting, which is to start turning that around into an Alding format to get that feedback. So, and that's why this is just listed as a reminder. Things we're currently doing. I don't think there's much more action to be had here. Okay. I believe that closes all of the discussion on this topic, so we shall move on to item 3. which is a follow-up item again. Should Westmarch have an emergency management plan? This was previously voted as unnecessary. Oopsies, I typed it. However, Milan still plans to make one because they think it's a good idea. This is said follow-up to remind Milan to continue doing the thing that you volunteered to do.
It is a weekly reminder on my Outlook, and I've been too focused on the 501c3, honestly, but I will do it and submit it to the monarchy and say, hey, this might be useful.
Okay, perfect. That closes item 3 then, unless anybody wants to discuss more. Hey, I motion to move on. I have a second. Perfect. Item number 4. This is again a follow-up. The incident form, the JOT form, when we were doing it in January, we thought we had fixed the issue where, different people could edit it after it had been submitted. But then it was discovered that there was another issue that allowed modification after it had been submitted. So the follow-up is, have we fixed that issue?
It seems that it has been fixed, yes.
Perfect.
I was able to talk to JotForm technical support. They were actually incredibly helpful. I recommend JotForm to anybody because it's literally free and they provide support. I don't know why they do it. I don't know how they make money, but it's great and the form works.
Perfect. So congratulations. We now have a general incident report form. And I believe the board of directors is recommending that the monarchy push this far and wide to let people know how to, that it exists and how to access it. Do we have...
I will share the PDF form with the Westmarch page and in the Discord.
Perfect.
It is not a PDF form. It is a digital link that people can submit, and it goes directly to the Westmarch email inbox. It's not just for COC violations. It's for, potentially anything that should have a report.
Yep.
Yes, but I also created a PDF so that people could handwrite it if they're on site at a place where they don't have internet.
I knew that. I apologize. You're amazing as always, Elizabeth.
So are you.
Forward that link to the IT committee and make sure it gets onto the CAM card.
Okay, perfect. Quick question, Liz. Does the PDF form also provide the information on how to access the digital form?
No, but I can add that.
That'd be great. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'll connect with Milan on that real quick.
Yeah.
Later.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Are there any other items to discuss on item number 4? No? Okay, so I motion to move on to item number 5. Do I have a second? Perfect. The Westmarch event audit form, another follow-up from January. So this records and reviews and wow, I think I mistyped something here. Let me looking at this like this doesn't make any sense. 1 second. In the meantime, Milan will sing us a song from an elevator.
Only the lonely, dum 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 dee doo ah. In my heart, oh so blue.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much for that, Milan. Okay, I have now added the actual notes from the January Alding. Now that I don't even know what this first set of wording is. In fact, I'm just going to drop a strike through that and move along. So in January, it was the Westmarch post-event form recommended to add oversight for maintenance and returning of Westmarch equipment and assets, and is also recommended adding to a future Alding item to get into the Capora. It was then tabled to the February meeting to re-review the updated form. I'm not actually sure I have this. Oh, no, I do. Stand by. Why am I doubting myself? I, of course, put it in the correct folders.
While he's pulling it up, I would like to say thank you to Royce for his work on this form. I made just a complete dumpster fire of a form, and Royce made it professional and functional.
Oh, is there a newer form? I still have, I think this is the one that was posted on the Discord that I am now sharing.
The one that was posted is probably the one that Royce fixed for me because I would have deleted any prior ones.
Perfect. So let's see, this is the, this fills out the event name, the year, the date, the event location, the relevant stewards, the total attendance, the breakdown of the attendance into different categories, and then financial summary with gross profits, total expenses, net profits, event expenses breakdown, event documentation, invoices, and then it tells you what to attach. Invoices, event bid, attendance records, and event evaluation. And then we collect additional notes. And it even has the board of directors can get to do a final vote on whether or not they believe they received everything for the event.
I'm going to point out, reviewing the fog financials and everything, this form is going to help 8 million times.
Okay. So this was tabled till February meeting to re-review the updated form. I think we just quickly re-reviewed the updated form, unless anybody has any additional questions or comments on this.
No, this was tabled because of me, because I was really complaining about the title because it's not actually an audit.
Okay.
My
Have we
only
corrected the
comment is
title
that's
to
beautiful.
Royce, is this the most recent version,
I believe
or is
so.
this the old version? I'm on mobile, so I can't tell.
It doesn't say audit at the top of it, so I believe this is the most recent version.
Perfect. So I believe then the action here is for Ethan to upload to the BoD wiki page. And we also need to write a corpora amendment for April. Do I have those items correct?
I believe so.
I believe so. I think doing this for every event will not only streamline things, but it'll make things better in the future for everyone involved.
Yeah, sounds good. Does anybody else have anything they wish to discuss about the Westmarch event audit form? Okay, in that case, I petition to move along. Can we get a second?
Seconded.
Perfect. The 501c3 update, Special Liaison Brian. Oulette, do you have some additional stuff you would like to discuss on this?
Yes, I would like to initially say that I am walking along a street right now with a horse, so this is going to be less than professional. I'd like to say thank you very much to Ethan and Royce. I have been blasting them with messages for the past 2 weeks, asking for help and oversight on the 501c3 transition. I also have reached out to James, who we all know, who has been incredibly helpful also. The good news. The IRS says we are ready to approve your 501c3. That was said in a statement to me on the phone. I was thrilled. All they said, but you have to get California to approve your articles of incorporation, of which I said, what? Because I did not know that, so I apologize. I submitted the articles of incorporation. They sent back a correction, so I sent back the corrections, and they said everything's perfect, but you need to have the president and secretary sign it. I am in San Diego. They are not. So it's been delayed 2 weeks. But as soon as Ethan and Chris sign off on it, then it'll be delivered to the California Secretary of State, and it should be approved by between March 3rd and March 10th.
And Chris and I are planning
I'd
to meet
also
up
like to
at
say
mid-rain.
I'd also like to say thank you to Chris for driving out of his way twice to get this signed. Chris also has been very helpful in this.
Yeah, no problem. Gotta get it done.
Yes, and we plan to do that sign off on the 23rd at the mid-rain event. So part of this was also that gets to lead into a vote for us, a roll call vote on the new articles of incorporation.
This is something we are doing to go over the top on the request of the California Secretary of State. The last approval was done in May of last year, which had different board of director members. So they could potentially kick it back if the right people didn't say yes on it. So I'm requesting an approval of the articles of incorporation by the new board of directors, just to make sure that they don't say denied because it's not approved, that I could just send them the YouTube link and be like, look, they all said yes.
Yeah, so I'm actually going to quickly change what I am sharing, which is my screen one. Don't break out, it's all good. So we originally, Brian, I wanted to confirm this with you, but I get you're walking. So you originally sent over a set of articles of incorporation, and then I believe there was a request for an amendment of Article 2.
The group message between you, Chris, and Royce is the latest version, the ones that are to be printed out and signed by everybody at Midrain. That is the most current version.
Yeah, let me see if I can grab that real fast, because I believe what I saw there was just the update to the article.
Yep, the update to the article, and then the correction page that needs to be printed out and brought to the California Secretary of State, which Royce has volunteered to do. Royce, if you don't want to do that, let me know, and I will pay for the next day air delivery.
No,
Okay, so
doesn't matter. I work in Sacramento.
This was
Just in
where
case.
my question came in on this, which was the form that you sent on whatever date this was. Standby notice. On February 13th, the talks about articles of incorporation. What am I doing here? This one. That the corporation, this is a certificate of amendment for the articles of incorporation.
That is correct. In the center of the page is the new articles of incorporation.
Okay,
sandwiched around the request for amendment.
Gotcha. So I have gone and taken the liberty of copying and pasting that into our articles of incorporation.
Perfect.
Which I now believe is the articles of incorporation in total. And I figured it would be worthwhile for the board of directors to actually sit down and review this for a moment.
All about it.
Perfect. So the restated articles of incorporation for the Amcard Kingdom of Westmarch Incorporated. The undersigned certify that they are the president and the secretary, respectively, of the Amcard Kingdom of Westmarch Inc. That is our corporation name, a California nonprofit corporation with California entity number 3476405. The article of incorporations of this corporation are amended and restated to read as follows. Article 1. The name of the corporation is Amcard Kingdom of Westmarch Inc. Article 2. Purpose. The corporation is a nonprofit public benefit corporation and is not organized for the private gain of any person. It is organized under the Nonprofit Public Benefit Corporation Law for public and charitable purposes. The specific purpose is the corporation shall promote and support live-action role-playing activities of Amcard in the Kingdom of Westmarch, including organizing events, fostering inclusive community participation, and educating medieval and fantasy-themed arts, combat, and culture. This corporation shall not engage in activities not permitted under Section 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code or corresponding section of any future tax code. Don't need that. Article 3.
Has anybody read that section?
No, is what it's sounding like.
But basically, it essentially says you can't, and it goes on to the dedication of assets, and Article 3 of it talks about it, because essentially you can't use the assets of the corporation for profit for any one individual. And then, like, you can't be exclusionary and a whole bunch of other stuff. I read bits and pieces of it while I was helping those on, but it's not something that, like, most anybody ever deals with. You'd have a very specialized attorney or accountant dealing with it.
Thank you for that synopsis.
Yeah. Looking it up on the IRS page, it's mostly just saying that you'll be a charitable organization and goes into the details that Royce was mentioning. Okay. Article 3, dedication of assets. The property of this corporation is irrevocably dedicated to charitable and educational purposes, and no part of the net income or assets of this corporation shall ever inure to the benefit of any private person or individual. Upon dissolution, all remaining assets shall be distributed to a nonprofit fund, foundation, or corporation organized and operated exclusively for charitable purposes that qualifies for exemption under 501c3 of the Internal Revenue Code. Article 4, limitation of liability. Pursuant to California law, no director or officer of this corporation shall be personally liable for debts, liabilities, or other obligations of the corporation, except as otherwise required by law. Article 5, amendment. These articles may be amended by a majority vote of the board of directors in accordance with the bylaws and applicable California laws. The foregoing amendment and restatement of articles of incorporation has been duly approved by the board of directors. The foregoing amendment and restatement of articles of incorporation has been duly approved by the required vote of the members. We further declare under perjury of laws of the state of California that the matters set forth in the certificate are true and correct to our knowledge, and then Chris and myself get to sign this. And I realized that I paused sharing. So here it is in all of its glory of our official articles of incorporation.
If I may pop in,
Yes, please.
just confirming. So if for whatever post-apocalyptic reason Westmarch had to dissolve as an organization, basically we would have to turn over all of our assets to Amp-Guard International or a chosen charity, perhaps.
Yeah, it would have to go to some sort of other nonprofit.
Yeah, it could go to Amp-Guard International, it could go to like the SCA, it could go to the SPCA, anything like that.
The Elon Musk Charitable Trust.
Yeah.
It could go to Kingdom of Wavehaven.
And then just to like cover our butts, it might be a good idea to have it somewhere accessible easily by Westmarch of, hey, here's what the don'ts are for a nonprofit organization. Like if somebody in a kingdom office starts doing a fundraiser for medical bills, and they receive some kind of support from other kingdom officers, where is the danger zone?
That would have to come from the kingdom itself. Like if Ethan did a fundraiser for medical bills for himself and I donated to it, nothing to do with the kingdom. It would literally have to be Westmarch's PayPal doing it.
If no one else sees any potential concern or risk, then like no worries. I just tend to be overcautious.
So honestly, the biggest concern is that our Capora is a bit of a problem in some areas. This was part of the reason I tried to update the Capora previously. I'm trying to find where the notes from the Secretary, Office of the Attorney General for California was. I put them somewhere. The OAG has a guide on recommendations for how to do this.
By the way, our corpora is not our bylaws still, right?
The Capora is our bylaws.
So that got approved?
It's been our bylaws since the beginning.
Okay, because I remember there was some concern about the corpora being the bylaws. But okay, if they approved it, that's awesome. I was just surprised.
Yeah, I'm not sure necessarily what happened in the past of, how officially the Capora was sent over and things like that. Okay, here we go. I'll resume this now. So I believe we call them Amp-Guard Kingdom of Westmarch Inc. Capora of Bylaws. It's what it says in the title of the document.
I have issues with this, but I have issues with everything.
All you need to know is the IRS approved them, and that's all that matters. And we can amend them later.
Yeah, I think we're specifically talking about the Capora.
No, I know. I got the bylaws approved by the IRS already.
You submitted our Capora to the IRS and they approved it?
Listen, I don't want to talk about it.
That's why I was surprised. Okay, anyway.
Okay. So in here, so this is the Attorney General's Guide for Charities, Best Practices for Nonprofits Operating and Operate or Fundraise in California. This is a great little document. It's 150 pages long. Several parts of it aren't applicable to 501c3s because they cover other areas. But they do also talk about like major things you should be aware of, various problems. So, I've talked about like currently we are a public benefits corporation. That's why part of this is we're transitioning to a nonprofit corporation because it allows us to get out of some of these potential problems. or sorry, not a public benefit. We are currently not a public benefit. We're a private benefit corporation. We're moving to a public benefit corporation because it solves some of these problems.
Mutual benefit, technically.
Yes, perfect, even better. Which is this whole section here about what they're organized for. So they're organized for the benefit of their members. They may not be formed exclusively for charitable purposes. Examples include private homeowners associations, private clubs, trades and professional associations. Mutual benefit corporations qualify for income taxes. That public benefit for different, because they serve their members, are not formed exclusively for charitable purposes. So we are a mutual benefit corporation. Okay. It then talks about trusts and other things, and I think there was a section in here that's how to form public benefits. How to trade tax exempt status. So like a lot of this won't necessarily be relevant to future boards, but I do recommend people skim through this or at least be familiar that it exists, because we do have certain things like reporting requirements, which is happily covered here in Chapter 6, for example, and how we have to report certain things to the IRS. And then we are said mutual benefit. Yeah, there's rules about fundraising, and this is the section that partially raised concerns for me in the past, and about how we can and cannot do fundraising. One of the big ones is like gambling, and how we can and cannot do that. The general fundraising requirements. So, for instance, charitable organizations are responsible for and must control their fundraising. Along those lines, persons unaffiliated with the organization cannot represent that donations solicited in California will be given to an organization unless that organization is provided signed written consent prior to the solicitation. So if somebody's going out and fundraising on our behalf, they must get approval by the board of directors before they can do that. Otherwise, they can just say, I'm raising money, but they can't say specifically for us. And then, funds raised and fundraising costs must be accurately reported by the charity for all these things. There's some disclosure information about it in here. So, and then they have a whole section just on bingo.
I think that fundraising thing is of decent importance I don't think it'll be necessarily a problem until we have to maybe warn somebody. But there have been efforts in the past for we're going to make special Westmarch belt favors with your name on it. And it's just to help raise money for Westmarch to buy maybe the next thing we want to do. And some people they go for it to take initiative. And I love that for them. But now we know we actually have to approve it.
Yeah, and part of this is because it's again it's like part of the charitable solicitation laws. So if somebody does that, they need to be very clear that they aren't speaking on behalf of us, that only board members can give that approval, and they cannot basically utilize our nonprofit tax identification for tax write-offs and stuff like that. And again, Royce, please jump in at any time if I'm speaking out my butt.
No,
there is an EIN request form specifically for things like belt favors to raise money.
Yep.
Wow. Okay, cool.
The other item to note that I wanted to bring down here is under raffles, because we've talked about doing things like that in the past for events. And there are some specific rules about how to do it, but in general, we would actually be good. So charities must register the raffle in advance with the relevant application. 90% or more of the funds have to actually be used for the charitable purpose. Raffle tickets cannot be sold online, which means we could not sell them through CA Amp Card for actual official drawing raffles. No individual corporation or legal entity may have financial interest in the raffle, except for our organization. Employees of the organization are the only persons who can receive compensation in connection to this, which does lead to a whole thing about employees. And then charities must annually report the results of the raffle. So we have to be very clear about is this an official raffle, or are we just raising money and or bidding on things, bidding on things versus raffles. So there is some restriction on there we have to be aware of. And there's a section about through online giving platforms. So charitable giving on the internet is no longer limited to giving directly through the charity's website. For instance, many companies unaffiliated with the charity let the public perform the following in their websites. Select a charity to give donations, fundraise for charities, support charities when making a profit, or purchases on the platform. So this would cover support charities when making a purchase on the platform would cover things like, selling magic artifacts or event tickets. Well, not event tickets, but like selling artifacts and stuff like that through CA Guard, or other, items through CA Guard would count as like fundraising through our online platform. And they talk about how, there's rules on how to do this. So
How do dues fall into this?
dues are interesting right now. In fact, they're interesting overall with both the current form of the Corpora and the future of being nonprofit, because there is a whole thing about. Let me see if I can quickly find it because I did highlight it. About members and agents of the corporation and being like dues. So this is compensation for officers, selecting directors. So
wait, we can get compensated?
Charities could potentially. So one of the things about like voting members for the corporation, so like as for the method of selecting directors, that's us, the board of directors. For instance, directors may be elected either by voting members of the corporation or by the existing board of directors. So far, we have been saying that basically anybody who pays dues and meets the other qualifications to become a voting member is a voting member of our corporation. That is how we have done it. That is how it is currently listed in our Corpora. So then it talks about, whatever the selection method, the method should be specified in our bylaws. It is about how we select board of directors members, as well as any other provisions that govern the board of directors, which are listed in the Corpora. There's a short section. This includes specifying the director's powers, their responsibilities, and provisions on resignation, removal, terms of office, and term limits for directors. These are covered. The term limits are covered in the board of directors section. The removal is covered under the Alding section. Resignations, we just allow people to resign. And then we have the whole section about the alternate subbing in if somebody's unable to fulfill their office. Yeah. And then there's a section in here about selecting officers, which again, we also have covered in our bylaws and our corpora. And then there's a section about compensation, but this highlighted section, most directors serve as volunteers or are not paid for their services as directors, other than reimbursement for actual expenses incurred attending meetings, such as mileage or parking fees. I am not paying your electric bill for the Zoom meeting. So that's the closest we're getting on that, because we are not doing in-person meetings.
But we could.
Yes, in theory we could. If we did require like an annual in-person meeting, this would allow us to cover the mileage costs of our board of directors. This is again more about compensation, which doesn't really matter to us. And then compensation that paid to officers and directors cannot be concealed from donors, nonprofits that file these forms, which I believe we do file the 990 form, must list compensation paid to directors. We don't compensate, so therefore there isn't much to add there. The board meetings shouldn't. Yeah, so then we talk about our board meetings notes. Our current practice actually follows these about how we handle our meeting notes. And the board meeting minutes should include detailed discussions of the deliberative process, including all comparable studies. Relied upon the dates of approvals, the compensation approved lists all board members who are present, those who voted to approve or disapprove compensation if we are again funding people or refunding them. The minutes should also identify any board members who are present and have any conflicting interests in what actions are taken. Then there's a whole section on our board meeting notes. This kind of boils down to these bullet points to highlight quickly, which is the copies of for the public benefits corporations. These include the duty to keep the following records: the current copies of the articles of incorporations and bylaws, which is what we're discussing right now, the meetings of board meetings, which we do, the membership list, names and addresses and types of membership. This is the part that's hardest for us because we are, as I said, technically everybody who's a dues paid member is a member.
So there's a way around that. I'm just saying, there is a way around that. I'm looking at the SCA's bylaws right now looking for them, and they have a membership thing. They have statutory and non-statutory members.
So that's exactly what it is. That is not currently listed in our corpora. In the proposed corpora I put forward, I explicitly stated that being a voting member does not make you a statutory member. It was a very explicit section in the Corpora. Our current Corpora does not have that wording. And if you read it and read this guide through the Office of Attorney General, because they have the power to elect the board of directors, they are by de facto statutory members, which actually leads to a very interesting thing about how to remove a statutory member, aka a ban. To do that, we have to give them, 15 days notice. They have to have a whole appeals process, everything else like this. So technically, the kind of way we've been doing it up to this point, when we ban a voting member, is they still are a member of a corporation for 15 days, and then their membership drops off. So they could attend a board of directors meeting during that 15 days if they wanted to. It's never happened, so that's why it's never come up, but it could. But other than that, like we can still, ask for the removal from events, from my understanding, which is kind of what we do with our ban list. Okay. So the other thing, and this will make you happy, Royce, is adequate, correct, and financial records of all of our accounts, an annual statement on certain self-dealing transactions or indemnifications of payments made to any officers. Again, we don't really do payments to officers right now, so we don't have this. And then an annual financial report, unless the corporation receives less than $25,000 in gross revenue, which we, I believe, currently do receive less than $25,000 in gross revenue during the fiscal year. Some of our events are starting to push us close, but I believe last year we were still under this number. But ultimately, we'll know when we get to the taxes.
Yeah.
And then we talk
I
about
haven't done them yet.
Yeah. We'll find out whether or not we're, how this last year turned out. Then at each board meeting, they should be prepared to review the meeting minutes. We always do. Discuss any necessary edits before voting on approve the minutes. We do. We should make sure that the minutes are accurate. And then, these records are important to not only provide the history and background and context supporting the board's decision, but also because they may be considered prima facie evidence. And I probably butchered that Latin.
Prima facie.
Close enough. Fascia is the connecting fascia in your rib cage that holds them in place. Anyways, evidence that meetings were held and matters referenced in the minutes were actually decided. False entries into the books, minutes, records, or accounts of the corporation, or any alteration or removal of records may result in enforcement action by the AOAG. AKA, once the meeting minutes are written, first off, we need to make sure that they're accurate, and then don't edit them or exclude things from them. They are official documents of the corporation.
Correct. You'd have to do an amendment to them.
Correct. We then talk about officer duties. These are generally the expected thing, but the thing is we are acting as fiduciaries and on behalf of the corporation. If they are not for our personal benefit, they are for the benefit of the corporation, and we have a duty of care. And, we recommend reviewing our articles of corporation, which is what we're doing now, and our bylaws, which is why, well, hopefully you all are Corpora certified. Yeah, I can continue going over this. As I said, it's a quite lengthy document I went through previously, and as you can tell, highlighted various things about what we'd have to be aware of. There's a whole section in here about volunteers and how to properly handle them and making sure that we don't accidentally declare them as agents of the corporation, or if we are declaring them agents of the corporation, as we did for Brian, that we are very clear on who they are and that we have documentation on them and that they are voted on by the board of directors as agents of the corporation act on our behalf, which is, for example, what we did on Thursday or last January with Brian. But we do have to be clear that it's like right now, the way we have it is the people who are running our events are actually not agents of our corporation. And so there are actually some limitations of what they are and are not allowed to do for a corporation.
And agree to.
Yes.
Yeah, we definitely need to get that corpora in place.
That's why it's kind of best practice for either the Kingdom PM or one of us to make the payments to the venues, because it's a contract, and as not with them not being an agent, they can't sign that contract on our behalf. Otherwise, they're holding themselves out as an agent, which has additional consequences.
Yeah.
And we're going to get into a sketchy gray area if ever a BOD member is running an event.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. that person needs to recuse themselves. I just did it from Darkshore. I am finding on the bid that I'm on for Feast of Gods for this year, I'm finding somebody else to handle the money portion of Feast that's not on our board of directors. Realistically, on the board of directors, the only position where you run into that problem is the treasurer, because the treasurer is responsible for essentially auditing the financials of it. And so, like, if I did Gate as the first contact point, which is what I was going to do for Darkshore, as the first contact point taking money, it creates a conflict of interest as me also being the ultimate reviewer of money for Westmarch.
Exactly. So we gotta prevent that.
Yeah, so really the only person who has that conflict is the treasurer.
Well, then don't do Gate.
I'm not.
So it's really okay. So it's just the BoD treasure.
Yes.
Okay. So I should write an Alding.
They can, and even then
Add that to the report.
they can be on the bid. They just can't be in a money handling position on the bid. Because, like I said, it essentially comes down to whether or not I'll use Darkshore because it's the next event. And if I were on Gate as the Gatocrat and I set the policies for Gate, then the incoming KPM could look at it. And so it essentially they could look at it, but I'm their boss basically. So when it comes to money things, so it creates this big circle.
Yes.
Which could result for me specifically because of the ethics resulting from my profession. It could result with me losing my regular job too if I did it. Hence why I recused myself. And I'm the first person to ever go, well, this is an issue. And then Ginger.
Yeah. So it definitely sounds like we should call that out. It definitely sounds like I unfortunately did try to capture most of these and solve most of these problems over the summer before, the 501c3 stuff was finished. It does sound like now is the time that we definitely need to go back through the Kapora and make sure that we are legal and we are following all relevant laws.
I think what we should do, and we can talk about this more later, is separate our bylaws from from our finger quotes corpora, the game portion of it.
That is what I in fact attempted to do in the update.
Well, I mean, it should be a complete separate document.
Agreed. What I had in the proposed Kapora was a section just talking about the board of directors, and it said the board of directors will handle the bylaws in like the articles of incorporation as a separate document outside of the Kapora. And so it was just like briefly mentioned in our Kapora of like the corporate stuff is over there and the game stuff is here.
We should also update the name from corpora bylaws.
There's a whole document rewrite that should occur. You are not going to get any argument for most of us here. Yeah.
Oh, we'll just try again.
Yeah. Sounds like we do need to take another pass on that. This just comes down to that, our job is to make sure that we're maintaining legal compliance within, the state of California and the IRS. So, yep. So it sounds like we need to write
when your
more
hobby
additional.
actually becomes a little big.
Yeah. But I also always do recommend this Attorney General's Guide for Charities for California is, as I said, very helpful. It talks about different sections of corporate code and all of these items. It may look daunting, but maybe a third of it applies to us in a lot of areas.
And I use them as an example a lot because they're kind of like they were like the big brother to us. I sent the SCA's business documents and it's got like their articles of incorporation in it, their bylaws and all of that, kind of as an example of where we could look aside from our game portion of it, the business portion of it. to give us an idea. Not that theirs are infinitely correct, but it kind of between that with an example and the Attorney General guide, we should be able to get hammered down to where we need to be.
Yeah. So you are correct, by the way, about the agent and how we are currently handling the events. The way we've always handled it is that the event is basically being run by the autocrat. And they're the ones like taking all the liability, and we, the like corporation, are reimbursing them for doing this, and then they are paying us back. It's like a very weird methodology, but they are the ones with all of the liability.
Except for now,
Yes.
here's where the problem comes in for this. By them saying, I'm holding Feast of Gods for Westmarch, they have then held themselves out to say the Parks Department of Monterey as an agent of ours. Whether or not they are, they appear to be.
Agreed.
And it gets into weird business law. I'm not a
Yeah.
lawyer.
And there's a section in here that I wanted to just like kind of quickly highlight, which is this fundraising disclosure section in here. Part of the reason I want to highlight it is because, if we are appointing the person of an event as our agent, we have to like say basically how we're using the money. This is our bids effectively, because it's saying here's how we plan to use the money, for the event, which does mean that we need to make our bids public to all of our members. Which currently is all voting members. We have been bad about this in the past. Over the last few years, we've gotten a little bit better, but this is something we definitely need to hold, you know, all monarchy to whenever they're selecting a bid, that this must be listed in a location that's available to everybody. I'm going to bring this up right now because, the monarch and the prime ministers are here, which is we have not done this for the Darkshore bid. So, that bid has not been made public. And it is important if we are when we cross the line into the autocrats becoming agents.
All right. Now I'm going to rein us back in because people are asking about the vote on the Articles of Incorporation.
Yes.
We should probably do that.
Yeah. Okay. So that was the fun side section about that led off the Articles of Incorporation. So if there are no other things to kind of talk about here for the 501c3 update, let me go grab the Articles of Incorporation here and throw them on the left-hand side. Chris, as our secretary, can you do a roll call vote to approve the Articles of Incorporation as read?
I will certainly do that. President, what do you say?
I say yes.
Vice President, what do you say?
Yes.
And Secretary, I say yes for approval. Treasurer, what do you say?
Affirmative.
Kingdom Prime Minister, what do you say?
Aye.
Kingdom Monarch, what do you say?
They're absent.
Oh, okay. Moving on. Liaison.
Aye.
Okay. BoD, that is 6 votes in.
Okay, and we will just mark.
I apologize. I am back now, and I as well.
Okay,
You still
perfect.
have time to put your vote in.
Yeah.
7-0-0. Floor is yours again, Prez.
Perfect. Thank you very much. I believe that covers everything with the 501c3 update at this time. I would like to motion to move along.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. Okay. For item number 7, the 2024 taxes, this is just a reminder that we must file our taxes before May 15th.
Correct. And now that we have the updated fog information, once I do the last little bit of legwork on the money situation to make sure it's reflected accurately, I can do the taxes, but I'll do the statement of information first because we've just updated the Articles of Incorporation. And with that and with the statement of information, Secretary of State should be fine.
Yes. And I added the link here just in case you need to refind it. Yeah. Motion to move along.
Seconded.
Perfect. Moving on to item number 8, the 2025 proposed budget. This is just a reminder that we plan to do this. And this is be given to
I
you
have
again,
all the
Royce.
relevant. I have all the relevant stuff to do it now.
Yes.
I have access to the Wells Fargo now. I have access to the bids from last year, so I can estimate off of those, and we can do our proposed budget for the year.
Perfect. Is there anything else to discuss on this at the point? The aim is to have this on the April Alding. Originally, in the previous meeting notes, it was for the March Alding, but as I mentioned, we're a little late for that.
Yeah, it'll get updated shortly.
Perfect.
Probably next week sometime, because I've got personal stuff on Monday.
Sounds good. And I can help you write the Alding if you need.
All right.
Okay. Motion to move along on this as well.
Seconded.
Perfect. I'll now move to item 9. Let me pull up the relevant documents. 1 second. I have way too many documents open. Okay, so item 9 is a re-approval of our DEI statement. So here we go. Does anybody wish for me to reread our DEI statement, or are we all familiar with it already?
I read it previously.
Okay. So there was a proposal that we should reaffirm our DEI statement with our new board of directors. This one was written in April of 2024. I threw together a short paragraph here that we can, with the idea of being able to post it publicly to our various media pages. That reads as follows. We, the board of directors of Amtgard Kingdom of Westmarch Inc., reaffirm our DEI statement found at the Google Drive link, which links to the statement here on the right. We recognize that the diversity of our community is our greatest strength. This is a trying time for many members of our community. We remind our members that we stand together. We believe that Amtgard should be inclusive to all people, regardless of gender, nationality, race, ethnicity, age, sexual orientation, mental ability, physical ability, or religious affiliation. Our community is based on loving friends and family, found or otherwise. That is my proposal. I am willing to modify as anybody sees necessary.
Send it.
Sounds good to me.
Okay.
I move that we accept this statement to be posted, reaffirming our DEI statement.
Seconded.
Perfect. Secretary, may we please have a vote?
Yeah, certainly. The voting starts with the president. What do you say?
Aye.
Vice president, what do you say?
Aye.
I, as secretary, also say aye as well. Treasurer.
Aye.
Thank you very much, Treasurer. Kingdom Prime Minister, what do you say?
Aye.
Kingdom Monarch, what do you say?
Aye.
And Liaison, what do you say?
Aye.
The votes are in 7-0-0. Floor is back to you, Prez.
Thank you very much. Okay. With that concludes our currently listed agenda. Do we have any walk-on items that anybody would like to add? Sounds like we have no walk-on items. Now it's time for everybody's favorite part of the meeting, determining when we're having our next meeting. I am going to right away say we should probably have this at least 2 weeks before the April Alding, which would put us no later than the 21st, because that's when the items would be due for the April Alding. So I'd recommend somewhere in the, the first half of March before the 20th or so, 20th at the latest.
I will let you know I will not be available for a meeting until the 19th or 20th. The week before that, I am the best man for a wedding that is happening that week, so
How
no.
dare you?
Your fake obligations don't come before your real obligations?
No,
Hold on.
because this is a volunteer position.
It's
These
my
are very
wedding.
real obligations, though.
It's
You're the
my
CEO of
wedding,
a
so
corporation.
I call dibs. I call dibs. Okay.
As the CEO, I'm saying nah.
As the bride, I'm saying nah.
Just
Please,
move
she
the
will
All right.
hurt. She
Bridezilla
will
of
hurt
you.
me. She will hurt me.
I'm not worried so much about you. I'm worried about me if I push the issue.
Mm-hmm. So hey, how does the 20th sound to everyone, if not the 19th? I don't know if Wednesdays or Thursdays work better for this group.
Wednesdays work better for me, but I'm down for either.
Same.
Do I smell a vote?
Abstain.
Yeah, I was gonna say, is anyone opposed to Wednesday the 19th?
Let me check with our incoming KPM and see if they have any issues. I don't think so. I think it's the same.
My opinion doesn't matter anymore.
You're free.
Hold on. Doesn't your opinion really matter as we just decided that the monarch can't be here because of you?
It's
Well,
whoa,
I mean,
okay.
that's the
Don't
only
say
time where
because
it
of her.
does.
Yeah, I'm just making sure.
Incoming elect KPM says they're good.
Okay.
Okay, perfect. Do we need to have an official vote on this for March 19th at 6:30 p.m.?
Yes.
Cool. Let's have an official vote on it.
All right, here goes my job. All right, folks, you ready to vote?
No.
President, what do you say?
Aye.
All right, Vice Pres, what do you say?
Aye.
I, as your secretary, say aye as well. Treasurer, it's up to you now.
Aye.
Kingdom Prime Minister, what do you say?
Who votes here?
Yeah, do you want mine or
Yeah.
You are still the member of the board of directors until Sunday.
That's
I
what I thought
abstain.
when I made a mistake earlier.
Oh, you abstain. Okay.
I'm actually honeymooning during that period, so I will definitely not be there. Sorry.
One abstention, that's all right. Kingdom Monarch, what do you say?
I was the one that proposed it.
All right, proposal was noted. Liaison.
Aye.
All right, that's 6 ayes, 1 abstention. President, floor is back to you.
Thank you very much. I believe that calls everything. I motion to adjourn the meeting.
Wait.
Oh.
Is the monarch giving a credit for attendance?
Oh.
I apologize. Yes, I did miss that. Sure. If we'd like to put more work on poor Chris's plate.
Delu's not here. What?
Isn't
never
it my
here.
plate?
Actually, that is your plate. You have 3 days left.
Thanks.
Love
Glad we could
ya.
help.
It was me.
Hi, me. I'm the problem. It's me.
Generally, it's me.
Please post your credits and parks and everything into the chat thingy. I'm gonna write it down and then do it eventually.
You better do it before Sunday when you lose access to the orc.
I said eventually.
Oh, actually,
I
talking
put it
about
in
that,
the.
I have a walk-on item now that I think about it.
How dare you?
Well, no. It has to do with what Athena said. Do they need to update their contract with us because their contract says Misty Vale? Does it need to be updated to Stonehearth on the actual contract?
Technically, yes.
Oh my god, probably yes.
Probably yes. This is the weird thing, in all honesty, about how we handle our lands, which is they themselves are not corporations, so the contract is only with the people who signed it at the time, technically, because it's a contract with individuals.
If we want to get into the technicalities of it, they are wholly owned subsidiaries of us because they pay us tithes. They pay us dues, essentially, directly, half to us, and they keep half. They're essentially a wholly owned subsidiary.
Which is why some kingdoms actually have all tithes be submitted through the kingdom webpage, and then they redisperse the relevant amounts and make them available to the lands because they are, volunteers acting on behalf of our corporation.
Yeah. So it's a whole thing.
So it's a whole thing. Do we really want to address this as a walk-on item right now?
Nope, but you can schedule it for next month.
Yes.
Okay, I will add it as a walk-on item to discuss in March. Changing of the name for Misty Vale.
Not Mystic Mountains.
To Stonehearth and the implications for contracts with the lands and liability to the corporation.
Yeah, we
Seconded
tried to
to add
update
that.
the orc about it and realized, oh no, apparently we don't have that level of admin. Okay.
No, the prime minister can do it, or the monarch in about 4 seconds. It's actually really easy.
Yeah, let me go over to the page real quick. Let me just, no, I'm kidding.
But
We should do this properly. Yeah.
We should discuss this next month whether or not we need a new contract.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
so what I'm going
indeed.
to say is the monarch and prime minister are free to update the orc because that is a game item. Now, updating documents and contracts, that is a different discussion that we should definitely have. Because that is a corporation item. So, does this satisfy what we're looking for here?
Yes.
Perfect. In that case, now I'm going to motion to adjourn the meeting.
Seconded.
Okay, I'm stopping recording.